Until now, the West controlled the reins of the African leaders ruling Africa. It was a type of indirect rule where European former colonizers pulled the strings of their puppets in Africa and got things done. As you can guess, the African leaders would make policies and agreements that directly benefited European companies, bringing great revenues to their home countries. In all that, the African countries and their deprived people lose everything. Their resources were stolen without their consent. If earlier, during colonialism, these resources were robbed at gunpoint, then now they were being secretly plundered using unfair agreements. This was the time when Captain Ibrahim Traore staged a coup. However, he did not disclose what he wanted. It's because he knew that if he started doing what he planned, he would not stay in power for over a month. Therefore, he first wanted to be strong, so that when he ushered in his revolutionary changes, no Western power could undo them. That time has now finally come, and Captain Ibrahim Traore has now unveiled his plans. In response to them, the Western leaders are on the run, making emergency visits to Africa to avoid them from happening. That's why you even saw European monarchs like the UK's King Charles, King Harold V of Norway, King Felipe VI of Spain, and the King of the Netherlands, Willem Alexander, visiting various African countries. So what are Ibrahim Traore's secret plans that have literally shaken Europe's royal palaces and presidential buildings? Let's know about that in this video. Currently, all gold mining companies in Burkina Faso are foreign-owned, with some being European and others Canadian. Therefore, the gold mining sector in Burkina Faso is heavily shaped by the influence of foreign companies, overseeing approximately 90% of the nation's gold production. Prominent companies in this foreign mining arena include Endeavour Mining, a Canadian company holding a significant 40% stake in Houndé, Burkina Faso's largest gold mine. I Am Gold, another Canadian mining entity, possesses a 50% stake in Essakane, the country's second-largest gold mine. Kirkland Lake Gold, also a Canadian mining firm, maintains a 50% stake in Lefa, ranking as the third-largest gold mine in Burkina Faso. In contrast, Samafo, a Canadian mining company, commands a substantial 90% stake in the Mana gold mine. Additionally, Aurizone Gold, another Canadian mining company, retains full ownership with a 100% stake in the Bambara gold mine. As for Burkina Faso, the government holds a minority ownership share in most gold mines, ranging from 5% to 10%. However, after Captain Ibrahim Traore, there is an active initiative by the government to enhance its ownership interest through negotiations with foreign mining companies and establishing a state-owned mining company. You will know more about that shortly. But let's first look at what has been done until now in Burkina Faso's gold sector. Earlier, when foreign companies held significant stakes in gold mines, a considerable share of the profits generated from gold mining left Burkina Faso, limiting the government's ability to generate revenue from these resources. This constraint hindered allocating funds that could otherwise support essential services, infrastructure development, and social programs. Under the influence of foreign companies, Burkina Faso experienced a diminished role in determining how its gold resources are utilized and developed. This led to decisions prioritizing the interests of foreign shareholders over the long-term benefits to the country and its population. Since the government had a minimal share, it had a limited say in what was being done with the gold mine from Burkina Faso. You see, that's how agreements bound even the governments and reduced authority to be exercised on the country's gold mines. That's why Burkina Faso's gold mining industry failed to translate into tangible advantages for local communities. Burkina Faso became excessively dependent on foreign companies for its gold mining industry, rendering it susceptible to fluctuations in global commodity prices and decisions made by foreign investors. Even if the foreign companies engaged in exploitative practices, such as offering low wages, neglecting environmental regulations, and failing to invest in local communities, Burkina Faso could do nothing. This perpetuated economic inequality and hindered sustainable development. Not only that, but the foreign companies hesitated to share their mining technology and expertise with Burkina Faso, constraining the country's ability to cultivate its own mining skills and expertise. Foreign companies just wanted Burkina Faso to stay paralyzed so they could exploit its gold forever. As you can see, none of these companies operated in Burkina Faso's best interest. They exploited the country's gold resources without limitations, leaving the local population with minimal benefits. You should know that this exploitation has been ongoing for centuries, dating back to the time when France governed Burkina Faso, even before the existence of gold mining companies. The roots of the present situation in Burkina Faso can be traced to the colonial legacy left by France since the early 1890s. Interactions occurred between colonial figures and the local populations in what is now Burkina Faso during the colonial era. France emerged as the dominant colonial power, initiating its invasion of the territory in 1896 and establishing it as a French protectorate by 1898. The Franco-British Convention of June 14, 1898, set the foundations for the country's modern borders. However, struggles for dominance over local communities and political powers persisted for about 5 years. In 1904, the relatively peaceful regions of the Volta Basin were integrated into the Upper Senegal and Niger colony of French West Africa, with Bamako as its capital. French became the language of colonial administration and education, with limited beginnings of a public education system. France began exploiting Burkina Faso's resources during its rule, extensively leveraging its natural resources to accumulate wealth and establish economic dominance. The agricultural sector, particularly cotton production, was deeply exploited, with coercive measures implemented to increase output, often at the expense of local communities. This directed the agricultural wealth to benefit the French economy. Burkina Faso's mineral wealth, including gold and other minerals, was also exploited by France. These resources were extracted and sent back to France, contributing to the economic growth of the colonial power while providing minimal benefits for the local population. Securing dominance over resource-rich areas in Burkina Faso, France utilized military conquests and political agreements to establish control, particularly in regions abundant in gold deposits. The resulting concessions granted France the authority to dictate the terms of resource extraction, effectively limiting access to these valuable resources for the local populations. France further exerted its influence by imposing substantial taxes and royalty payments on gold production, diverting a significant share of the profits to the French government and companies. These impositions often exceeded reasonable rates, creating a disproportionate burden compared to other resource-rich colonies. This maintained a monopoly on the gold trade. France controlled the export market, manipulating prices to favor its interests. This exclusive arrangement hindered local producers from entering international markets and securing better prices for their gold. To exploit these resources, France employed forced labor, particularly from local populations, subjecting workers to harsh conditions and meager wages. This exploitative practice enriched French companies while perpetuating impoverishment in the affected local communities. Local involvement in the gold mining industry was deliberately limited by France, restricting opportunities for Burkinabe individuals in terms of technical training, capital, and ownership prospects. This limitation hindered the development of local skills and expertise in the mining sector. That's why Burkina Faso is not independent in running its own gold sector today. Also, profits generated from gold mining in Burkina Faso were predominantly repatriated to France, contributing to the growth of the French economy while leaving Burkina Faso with meager resources for its own development. You should know that to maintain political control, France employed diverse tactics, including military force, political manipulation, and strategies of cultural assimilation, effectively suppressing resistance from local communities. France entered into treaties with local rulers and authorities that favored French interests, granting them exclusive rights to exploit gold resources. These treaties often lacked transparency and failed to safeguard the rights of the local populations adequately. But that worked for France, exploiting existing colonial infrastructure, such as transportation networks and administrative systems. France streamlined the extraction and transportation of gold from Burkina Faso. This approach reduced investment costs for French companies while maximizing their profits. By favoring the involvement of French companies and experts in the gold mining industry, France curtailed opportunities for local entrepreneurs and professionals to participate, further entrenching French control over the sector. You see, France systematically made Burkina Faso unable to take control of its resources. Therefore, regrettably, This ongoing resource and labor exploitation is not Burkina Faso's fault. The blame lies with foreign companies that have hindered Burkina Faso from developing and creating job opportunities for its youth. Consequently, many young people are compelled to work as laborers in mining sites under deplorable conditions. Since Burkina Faso's people have not been given technical training to run their gold sector, they are laborers in their own gold mines, while the foreigners take the administrative role. It's like what happened during colonialism and slavery, where a foreign overseer would control black people working on plantations in the worst possible conditions. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Some argue that the colonial administration invested in infrastructure projects like roads and railways. However, these efforts primarily served the extraction and transportation of resources to benefit the colonial power rather than improving the well-being of the local people. During that period, the indigenous population faced significant discrimination, with African children prohibited from activities like riding bicycles or picking fruit from trees, activities considered privileges reserved for colonist children. Violations of these regulations could result in the imprisonment of parents. On March 1, 1919, French Upper Volta was established as a separate colony from Upper Senegal and Niger due to fears of uprisings and economic considerations. The new colony initiated a road-building program and promoted cotton cultivation for export. Nevertheless, the coerced cotton policy proved unsuccessful, leading to stagnant revenue. The colony was dissolved on September 5, 1932, with its territory divided among the French colonies of Ivory Coast, French Sudan, and Niger. Ivory Coast received the largest share, including most of the population in major cities like Ouagadougou and Bobo-Dioulasso. A significant moment occurred on December 11, 1958, when the colony achieved self-government as the Republic of Upper Volta, becoming part of the Franco-African community. This change was part of a reorganization of French overseas territories, granting significant autonomy to individual territories. Upper Volta eventually gained full independence from France on December 11, 1958, but the exploitation did not end there. Exploitation in Africa extends beyond Burkina Faso and persists even decades after gaining independence. While the leadership may have changed, the agreements and exploitation persist. European companies continue to exploit African resources, forming deals with corrupt leaders without considering the well-being of the people. Observing working conditions and exploitation in present-day Africa raises questions about whether it resembles a colony. Throughout history, Africans have risked their lives to extract valuable resources, often resorting to hazardous methods like using mercury in small-scale mining operations. Unfortunately, the rewards of their labor are unjustly taken away by intermediaries who purchase these resources at significantly lower prices. Subsequently, these intermediaries sell the resources in Western markets, reaping substantial profits that remain in Europe and America. Now, Captain Ibrahim Traore has grown weary of this injustice. He has expressed concerns about the difficult circumstances many Africans face in hazardous gold mining operations. These individuals receive minimal compensation when they sell their produce in the African market. Consequently, this gold is exported to Western markets, benefiting others while neglecting the needs of local communities. This practice restricts job creation and hinders overall development as money is siphoned away from circulation. It is crucial to understand that Burkina Faso is grappling with a significant challenge, particularly regarding the foreign companies that control almost all of its gold mines. One prominent mining company is Endeavour Mining, a multinational corporation headquartered in the UK, holding a dominant position in Burkina Faso's gold mining sector, controlling nearly one-third of the country's gold market. Adding complexity, Endeavour Mining acquired the Mana mine in July 2020 as part of its takeover of the Canada-based gold miner Semafo. The transfer of African resources from local ownership to foreign entities is not uncommon. Previously, a Canadian company owned the mine, and now it is owned by a UK-based firm. It is astounding that Endeavour Mining holds a 90% share in the mine, while the Burkina Faso government holds only a mere 10% stake, underscoring the prevailing foreign control. Despite being ranked as the world's 14th largest gold producer in 2022, Burkina Faso sees little benefit from its own reserves. It is becoming increasingly evident that the gold reserves don't truly belong to the people, as most multinational companies exploiting these resources come from various countries except Burkina Faso. The government's share can easily be bought up, highlighting the irony that foreign companies have almost complete control over the gold mines in Burkina Faso with full support from the government. This dilemma arises from the actions of past corrupt leaders who entered long-term agreements with these companies solely for personal gain. These foreign companies treat the gold mines as if they own them, even selling them to other companies. Consequently, the people of Burkina Faso have minimal control over their resources and fail to reap their benefits. A sad example of this is when the government had to buy 200 gold bars from Endeavour Mining. They had to pay for the same gold these companies extracted from mines in Burkina Faso. This situation is deeply troubling, prompting Ibrahim Traore to take action. Traore cannot stand idly by and witness people being suppressed and exploited by foreign companies in the 21st century. Therefore, revealing his secret grand plan, he established a state-owned company overseeing all foreign companies operating in Burkina Faso. This company will renegotiate unfair agreements made earlier. Traore is aware of how these foreign companies offered lucrative benefits to previous leaders in exchange for mining permits, agreements he deems blatantly unfair and in need of renegotiation. This means that foreign companies will be put in their place and reminded that they are guests in Burkina Faso. Additionally, taxes will be imposed on them, the same way as any other independent and powerful country does. The years of exploitation need to be addressed now, and Traore plans to reverse everything that has happened before. Traore finds such practices unacceptable and is determined to bring about change. He condemns the treatment of African countries, describing it as a form of brutal imperialism. He points out that even though slavery was abolished in Europe and the United States, Africans still endure conditions like modern-day slavery due to foreign control over gold mines. He raises important questions about the miners and their families, highlighting the exploitation they face. He denounces the injustice of their labor, emphasizing that regardless of the amount of gold they extract, the profits ultimately benefit European powers who hold the mining rights. This dominance by Europe has significantly shaped Burkina Faso's gold mining sector. Traore has unveiled plans to establish a state-owned company in Burkina Faso that will take control of all mining sites, particularly the gold mines. The goal is to bring about a significant change by removing European companies from the equation. This move essentially nationalizes the gold mines, but with the intention of eventually offering limited mining rights to foreign companies. In other words, if the foreign companies owned 90% stakes, they would now own only 10%, with Burkina Faso having 90% stakes. In this way, Burkina Faso will be the one deciding all matters. What's more, the foreign companies will be given 5 to 10% stakes only if they promise to develop Burkina Faso's mining industry, making the state-owned company independent in mining. If not, they will be kicked out, and more countries, like Russia, will be selected to invest. The state-owned company's primary objective is to ensure that the gold extracted from Burkina Faso remains within the country, benefiting its people. This modernization of the mining sector aims to replace harsh conditions with a more contemporary approach, allowing individuals to extract gold like developed nations. Currently, gold mines managed by European entities present a starkly different reality, where progress fails to materialize and often worsens. The production of the new state-owned company aims to create job opportunities for Burkina Faso's youth. Their efforts will contribute to the prosperity of their nation and themselves, rather than benefiting foreign nations. Traore has also introduced EPIC, an initiative designed to redefine businesses within Burkina Faso. The motive behind this initiative stems from Burkina Faso's possession of raw materials for various products, despite currently relying on imports for finished goods that could be manufactured domestically. Traore understands the root cause of Burkina Faso's poverty and aims to break the reliance on the gold extraction cycle. His plan revolves around taking control of the gold mines, offering jobs to the population, and keeping all the gold resources within the country. This would allow Burkina Faso to diversify its economic portfolio and invest in other agriculture, manufacturing, and technology sectors. By doing so, the country can overcome its excessive dependence on the gold mining industry and break free from the control of foreign entities. Ibrahim Traore's master plan is ambitious, and its success will depend on various factors. However, if Burkina Faso can take back control of its gold mines, it may encourage other African leaders to follow suit and reclaim their resources from European companies that have been exploiting them for decades. You should know that what Ibrahim Traore is doing is pretty different from what other African leaders did. Ibrahim Traore's strategies include various aspects to reshape Burkina Faso's gold mining landscape. In revising mining contracts and legislation, Traore advocates for meticulously reviewing and renegotiating existing agreements to align them with the government's interests and optimize the country's share of mining revenues. However, Joseph Kabila did the opposite in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, where mining licenses were granted to foreign entities without competitive bidding, resulting in unfavorable terms for the government. Traore envisions acquiring a majority stake in existing gold mines through negotiation or purchase to increase government ownership. This approach would grant the government more influence in mining operations and ensure a fair share of profits. Contrarily, experiences with John Mahama of Ghana reveal instances where signed mining deals lacked transparency and failed to maximize government revenue. Diversifying mining partnerships is another crucial part of Traore's plans. He advocates exploring collaborations with non-traditional mining countries like Russia, China, and Turkey to reduce Burkina Faso's reliance on Western mining companies. Traore strongly emphasizes promoting local benefits by mandating mining companies to invest a portion of their profits in local communities. This initiative aims to enhance infrastructure, provide social services, and create employment opportunities, addressing the historical challenge faced by many African countries unable to harness the benefits of mining fully for their local communities. Further considerations highlight the alignment of Traore's plans with the increasing trend of African countries asserting greater control over their natural resources. Additionally, successful implementation could potentially reduce Burkina Faso's dependence on foreign aid, fostering economic development. What's more, Traore's strategies positively influence other African nations, encouraging them to adopt a more powerful stance in managing their gold resources. President Traore's choice to reclaim. Burkina Faso's gold menace carries the potential to resonate throughout other African nations endowed with abundant gold resources. This shift in policy could catalyze a broader movement towards heightened government control over natural resources, fostering a more equitable distribution of mining profits. That's why we are seeing European leaders making emergency visits to Africa. They know Ibrahim Traore's policies will have a ripple effect on other African countries, ending their influence in the gold sector. What do you think? Are European countries capable enough to reverse what Captain Ibrahim Traore is doing? Or has Ibrahim Traore consolidated enough power to confront European countries and do what he wants? Let us know your thoughts on whether Ibrahim Traore is the African leader who can change the face of the continent with his policies and plans. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.